everyone, and welcome to the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports podcast. And would you look at that, man? We are all back. We're all back. We've had a little bit weird hiatus here. Rex is looking straight at us here. Things you love to see. And we're all back at it again. Obviously, man, Toronto was nuts. I mean, nuts.
Nutter butters.
I mean, we were going into this one expecting, like absolutely insane matchups versus the top 3-4 teams in the league. And we got a miracle run from the non-Americans, the Toronto Ultra.
Oh.
And it was crazy. But before we get anything else, guys, we got a lot to talk about today. But I got to ask, guys, what is going on?
Josh, there is a rage of boiling blood inside of me. I am like a tea kettle about to scream. This Toronto Ultra tournament may have been the most annoying tournament I have ever seen in my life. With all these little cheaters running around, doing their thing.
Oh, no.
My blood is boiled.
So you're in some sort of mood tonight. Sam, what mood are you in?
I think for the first time, I'm better than Rex.
What? I mean, maybe.
I mean, I feel like the average person is probably better than Rex right now. I didn't realize how mad he was. Sorry, Rex.
Hey, it happens to the best of us, man. It happens to the best of us. But of course, guys, as always, you can follow us on Twitter, SalvationsElite. Sam is Bash_Bo3 and Rex Shady Nero. And of course, you can listen where podcasts can be listened on YouTube. You can watch on YouTube as well, of course. And then Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We do appreciate that a lot. And real quick, shout out to the Fantasy Royale this weekend. Absolutely insane, because again, they unlocked how many people can be in it. So we had 346 people in here this time. Absolutely insane. And shout out Thirsty with the 379 point week, which is nuts. Awakening had 91.18
Awakening
points,
was the pick for this week.
Outrageous.
What in the world?
Yeah, Abizi went off. I mean, I'm sure if you were in good shape, if you had like Abizi and Simp or anything like that. But he had Hollow, Awakening, Shotzzy, Priesta, and Abizi. That's a nice squad. And I mean, even although Hollow didn't have himself much of a weekend, but that's crazy. So shout out Thirsty for the absolutely insane week. Went in Kid Jordan, second place. Shout out. Huh. And things you absolutely love to see. So that was crazy. But we got a lot to do today.
Yeah, we do.
Well, who got third?
And who got third?
Yeah. You can't do the first two and not name the third.
ZT Laxman got third.
With the bronze.
There we go.
With that bronze medal. So shout out. But we have a ton to go through today. Obviously, I mean, with challengers, with the season ending, we're doing power rankings today and a whole bunch more. But first, before we get anything else, we got to get into the news. So let's get right into it.
The Call of Duty News of the Week.
Oh, Lord.
Man.
Let's go, baby. So, my goodness, this was another crazy news week, of course, highlighted by some glitches, a lot of other things, and the AM scene. I think we should probably start there because there's a lot of juicy news in the AM scene. And again, Rosterlock was what was going on. Like, that was the big news heading into this weekend, was basically the team that you play with in this weekend is the team that you have to play with in, last chance qualifiers and in the challengers champs. And so that was the drama going into the weekend, was where were you at with what teams were going to be, teaming with who. Mm-hmm. And basically the big news, like, this weekend was Sib, who's, Faze Academy, one very talented player this whole year, ended up having to get dropped because of what he said on stream. He used the wrong F word and ended up getting dropped from Faze. And so Faze had to find like an emergency, like, sub or a new roster, a new teammate, right before Rosterlock, which was crazy. Mm-hmm. And I mean, even with their new squad, they still finished second.
It's impressive,
which is insane in itself. But overall for Sib, I mean, that's about the worst time you could possibly have with what he said there, because heading into the into the postseason like that, like you're just costing yourself a lot of money, especially when you're one of the favorites, and a lot of opportunity. And you know, I mean, he was in a good spot to get picked up by a pro team next year, especially if there's expansions.
Yeah,
and then now you're screwed.
Yeah, that was a very unfortunate timing.
I would say not the best, you know, decision making on his part, but I mean, I wouldn't say. I think he started saying like basically he's going to quit esports, quit Call of Duty, like he's done. But some, you know, I think some other Pristini jumped in there and tweets like, "Hey, don't give up." Other people are jumping in, kind of trying to like, in a way, be like, "Don't like." Yeah, it was a stupid mistake, but like, don't give up. Like, you just mature through it, and like, you know, maybe next year there's still a chance. Like, you know, who knows what can happen? Right.
Yeah. It was. I mean, again, for him personally, incredibly unfortunate. But overall, I mean, when it comes to PR of FaZe Academy this weekend, not a good look, because Jimbo was accused of sending players' IP addresses, like opposing players' IP addresses in DMs, which we're not exactly sure, like, you know, why would you send someone's IP address in a DM for any other reason than trying to like cheat?
Yeah.
So that was fishy to be the least, and like that was some bad looks for FaZe Academy going into this weekend. But I mean, all things considered, they still were really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Which is crazy and shows like based off their talent. I mean, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, not a good look for FaZe. I'm curious about what's going to happen with Jimbo. I mean, with the whole like SIP thing, it's like in the end, he was representing an org as well at the time. So like,
yeah,
they can't have that in their branding, you know, like it's just like we're in the more like corporate world. You're on one of the academy teams, is one of the best Call of Duty teams right now. Big name. Yeah, it's just you can't really do that. But then it's Jimbo setting out the players' IPs. I don't know what's going on with FaZe. They're so sketch.
Yeah,
that is weird.
But they're good at COD.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if Sib
maybe they're all cheating. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm curious to see if Sib is like now just Dunzo, or if he'll be picked up. You know, like Parasites has had his fair share of, you know, drama, but nothing to that extent of like saying something.
Yeah,
I think his are more just like
it's
weird.
More about personal attacks.
For
Parasite.
But yeah, I'm curious to see if, you know, people are willing to overlook his mistakes, or you know, forgive him. But
yeah, I mean, what's that? Say it's not good. Mutex. I mean, he kind of earlier on in the year, has similar sort of drama go on with him, and he was dropped as a sub. And he looks like he's doing a little bit better now. His stream apparently is popping off, you know, and who knows, maybe he can come back after, you know, you sort of kind of redeem yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. Like that is going to be an interesting like angle overall to see what happens there. I mean, when it comes to like the rest of the open bracket, or with the rest of this tournament here, leading in again to the LCQ and leading into like Challengers Champs, Parasite came out on top here once again. His boys, Exotic, Fire, Noisy, Goonjar, Parasite. They're a team name of 5-star. Came out on top, which, I mean, again, all those guys have been around the top this whole year. Goonjar's been he's talking about flying under the radar this year. Goonjar's teams have been really successful. And, I mean, who's talking about Goonjar, you know? But he's been really successful in the AM scene. It's weird.
Definitely. I thought Goonjar was like retired years ago. But then every year I see him in the AM scene placing super high up. So it's interesting to see him up there. Also, fun fact. So Paul X on FaZe Academy was on Parasite's team before.
Oh, yeah.
Noisy, the person they just picked up, replaced him, and then Parasite beat them. So like, Paul X literally left that team to play for FaZe Academy and then lost the team he left.
Which is wild. That's some juicy drama.
Sucks for Paul X.
He probably wasn't expecting someone to drop a word on stream and then
definitely
get dropped.
Not.
But yeah, no, that was kind of funny.
I mean, I'm talking about because Paul X chose to leave the team he was on to take that opportunity.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that I think FaZe probably would have gotten maybe better if they didn't
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, at the end of the day, they still finished second, which is crazy in itself. So that was pretty, I mean, it was a drama-filled weekend in Toronto, especially in the North American scene, just because of that alone. And then, I mean, like you look at the rest of the top few here. Again, UYU, which was Charles, Jintroid, Rex, Cells, and Dave Patey, finished third. And then you got Carnage in fourth here with Hunt, Nightmare, Pure, Ryza, and Gunsy. And then Sixth Gear, Built for Gamers, which was a team I really haven't seen anywhere inside the top like 6 this year. And then Triumph and Control top 8. So again, these rosters, which is interesting about this tournament, is that these are the rosters we're going to be seeing here the upcoming 2 weeks for playoffs. So
is Weststar not a thing anymore? Because I'm seeing Zaptius on Sixth Gear now.
I mean, yeah. So they've kind of been flying around with all the teams. Yeah, with the team names, but it's still the same squad.
Gotcha.
Aches played in this Challengers tournament at Toronto.
Yes, he did.
He did indeed.
He was on Busy. That's with Spacely.
Yeah, with Pro Feezy, Spacely, Apox, CCM.
Yeah.
Which they've been a pretty successful team all year long, but they only got top 16, so not their ideal finish there.
No.
But yeah, so we're gonna talk a lot more about realistically like every roster and dive more into the challengers next weekend, which by the way, or next podcast, by the way, we gotta say, Hottest Operators is making its debut. We're gonna oh no!
Oh,
we're gonna figure out a way to like actually do that in like a good way, but we'll make it work somehow.
The best way to do that is to not do it.
This is a requirement that Sam and Josh both have to rip their shirts off.
What podcast?
We're talking about the hottest operators here. You're not going to take your shirt off? What kind of animal are you?
I know. I mean, can you imagine? Wow. How dare we? But yeah. So again, the basically the schedule here is Last Chance Qualifiers starts this weekend, which is like what, the first?
Yes.
And the first. And so how that works is the top 24 teams currently in Pro Points, which I think is being finalized after the event this weekend. I'm assuming we'll know by like either probably later tonight or tomorrow, which unfortunately we'll talk about the next podcast then. That'll be finalized by the end of the night. And then this weekend, the final 8 spots of the top 32 for both North America and for Europe, and then the top 4 for APAC, because APAC's only a 16-team tournament, are being decided by the Last Chance Qualifier. So the LCQ, anyone can basically enter it, and then the top 8 advance to champs, which is pretty lit.
Yeah.
So that's happening this weekend, which is a pretty big deal for a lot of the lower tier amateurs.
Nice.
And then the big deal is the following weekend with Challengers Champs. So a lot happening here in the upcoming few weeks, and of course, then that's leading into COD Champs. So a lot on the line. Obviously, 500K for the AMs is on the line, which is pretty nuts in itself, and a lot going on. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like, any thoughts there?
I'm kind of interested to know who's going to come out of that Last Chance Qualifier for Europe and North America,
or even who has to play in it. Yeah,
who has to play in it, and just see how far they go. It'll be interesting because I feel like this Champs and Last Chance Qualifier, like that's when like most people are gonna be paying attention, and like the names that come out of that are gonna be names that are picked up for next year. And so that's 100%. What I'm looking for is the names that we can pick out from there. That is like, oh, that guy's getting picked up. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see someone grow from AM scene to pro next year.
For sure, that's the massive importance of like what the LCQ and what Champs provides, or Challenger Champs provides, the opportunity for next year, especially if there's expansion teams, because that's where the money's made, that's where the careers are made, and the opportunities are going to be. Which again, right now we're iffy on, or 50-50, or just iffy overall on whether or not there's actually going to be expansion teams, but that's where careers are made right there, for sure. And so I'm thinking about all of the AMs last year who at Champs, or the guys who were fringe pros last year at Champs, went off and then made careers off of it. It was tons.
Yeah.
So it's this year especially. So it's just crazy.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun to watch. I think hopefully again, we talked about it last week a little bit, me and you, Rex, but hopefully the production's on point, and hopefully they bring in a lot of the CDL guys to to commentate it. Because
I bet they'll get. I bet they'll have Lando and
I was gonna
Study
say,
there.
you would think Lando would come back and do it, and maybe Study.
I mean, if it's
then,
on its own day, though, hopefully. I mean, if the champs is for, I mean, the championship is for $50,000. Like, that should be on the main.
Yeah, like you would think, like you'd hope the main guys like Maven and them wouldn't think they're too good.
I would imagine they'll be there. Which would be pretty cool. I really hope that's the case because I am down to watch that for sure.
Me too. If they put it on the main channel, like there's nothing else happening, you might as well throw that on.
Yeah, I'll be totally down to watch. So that's pretty exciting overall. We'll talk a lot more about Challengers next week leading into the Challengers Champs. So we just want to give that preview going into this weekend with LCQs and everything else. So let's talk the Start Glitch. All right. This was the drama of the weekend and the drama of the competitive COD scene. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, which I'd imagine almost everyone does at this point because
insane.
So basically, at the end of the day, it's basically like a kill cam minimap glitch. Mm-hmm. So what happens is when you die, you sit and press the start menu, and you can see the whole minimap that pops up when you press the start menu. And then when the kill cam kicks in, you can see the locations. You're basically seeing the person who kills you minimap. And you're seeing where the opposing team is around the whole map, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, an incredible advantage in any game mode, but especially in situations like on rotation and hard points and things like that to call out what guys are hitting flanks or if somebody's already at the back of the map or, okay, there's one guy, back behind P5, we got to go get that guy. Like, you can literally figure that out based off this kill cam glitch. And again, if you're not streaming or no one's watching your POV, they'll literally never know.
No.
Which is terrifying.
It is.
Yeah. It's just one thing after another with this game, like with what's happening with it. It's just mind-blowing. This is a game-breaking bug. It has to be patched before champs. It just has to be. You can't even GA it. Like, it's not a thing that can be GA. Like, it's just like, that's just what's in the game.
Right.
You can't choose. Like, it's just like you press start when you die. That's what you see. You can't even press start to see where your team is at to give like yourself more intel that way. You just can't press start when you die. It's ridiculous.
It's super interesting too. Like there's a bunch of pros who they're coming out on Twitter and like it is just to like get their innocence out there that they're not doing it where they're like whoever's doing this is a scumbag.
What
but
losers?
Like how many of those people are actually doing it? So I feel like right now that it's like a race to like prove that you're not doing it and to call out the people that are doing it. So I don't know. I think every team thinks that the team that they were playing were doing it. So it's like, is everyone just doing it?
I mean, that Toronto game versus Empire sketch.
You think so?
I really do. You can find the clip. Like I've posted like the exact clip of what they're talking about on St. Petro. Fourth map hardpoint P4, like just the whole sneak with Shotzzy going in the back. Then all of a sudden, CleanX dies. Bance and Classic just do a 180 turn and run to the back of pool and both around the corner at the same time to get that trade. It's like, where did that come from? Why would you just assume that?
Like, did they hear him? He
used dead silence. I watched it over and over again. He used dead silence to get back there. Now, it was gone a little bit by the time he got to his little corner, but they are in front of pool house. There is like no way they would have heard that. And for both of them to just be so confident in that, so confident in that positioning on where he was to go out the back door and just both of them jump around the corner and start firing. It just like made no sense.
Yeah, I know. Like what we don't know is exactly how long this has existed. Because apparently people had figured this out in Warzone, and then that's how people figured it out in this. Where like if you died in Warzone, you could just sit there and you'd be able to see where all of the other people's teammates were.
Interesting.
And then people were like, wait a second, you can probably do that in this game in multiplayer, and then you could. But like, it feels like that for some or a pro that plays this game every day for hours and hours.
Oh, they definitely figured it out.
It would not be that hard to figure this out pretty early on to whenever it started happening. And that's the weird thing is we don't know when it started happening exactly. So like, no one's been able to pinpoint when this thing started, and no one's been willing to say when they knew. Like again, because at one point, Dallas came out and admitted that Dallas and Faze were both using the slide cancel way before other people were. And then that was a whole debate, and then you have all of that going on, and now this is kind of feeling like that all over again with how that's working out with the game breaking. Like,
but this is mechanic. Like really game breaking. Like this isn't slide canceling. This is you being able to see the position of the enemy. It's just like
it's terrible.
Like it's just ruins
this
the whole thing.
I mean, again, this is full on cheating. In that sense.
Yeah. So you they have to patch it. I believe it just has to be something that's patched, or Champs is kind of ruined for me in a sense. It's just like,
I know. That's
who knows if they're using it. They say they're not, but of course they're going to say they're not, Right. So I don't have a confirmation yet whether or not this actually fixes it. But some AMs in the week bracket this weekend were playing with kill cams turned off. So there's no kill cams at all, but apparently that would create for like the 360 dead body cam where like when you died, your body would just float there in your camera. You could turn around your camera. Yeah. But again, that's not ideal, but it's definitely better than being able to see if somebody's flanking on the backside of the map. True.
So that's probably better than that. And you could already get information from kill cams anyway, because for a second you could see where they were headed. So maybe overall it's not that bad. And that's probably our best bet right now to like hot fix it as players. But
or what we need is 3 cameras. We need a face cam, a hand cam,
and a monitor
and
cam.
A monitor cam. And and we need a ref to monitor all.
Or we send one ref to every player's house.
That's such a ridiculous thing to ask, because like how many people just press start just as a Twitch thing, just like they just press start sometimes. Like they die to press start real quick and back out. It's like
right. And it's a thing where it's like
it's just habitual, and then you're gonna forfeit them after that,
And then you forfeit the map.
Yeah, I mean, again, it would have to be like a judgment call, which isn't easy to do. Again, we've seen how that goes, and like, it is a terrible situation.
How are we here? We're going into champs, and we have
end of July
game breaking glitch. I just don't understand.
A newly discovered that's apparently been here for a while. Glitch.
It blows my mind. I don't know. And do you think that Activision or Infinity Ward are going to prioritize fixing it? Or
only Activision says Activision would have to.
Activision, I'm sure, is very upset with Infinity Ward. I'm sure they are.
You would hope so.
But
I mean, again, Champs, because again, money talks, and because Champs is so much money, and the CDL's kind of hanging their hat on Champs working and going well, I'd imagine that Activision is going to lay down the hammer with Infinity Ward, but maybe I'm getting maybe I'm too confident, too optimistic, because obviously that hasn't been the case this year, but again, money talks. Champs is $4 million. Like, that matters,
Yeah, and they also have Warzone to worry about, so.
Right, and if it's being abused in Warzone, then I would imagine then it'll probably get fixed.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Hopefully they're coded the same way, where it's the same thing to fix it in Warzone is essentially the same thing to fix it for multiplayer.
I mean, there's a world where this has been going on for a handful of weeks, if not longer than that.
The whole time.
Yeah, the whole time.
So that's scary. I mean, that's where it gets worrying for me, because otherwys
how legitimate are these teams? Like maybe Mutineers? What's going on?
I mean, again, people are always going to throw it at Mutineers, like, oh, they figured they fit. Awakening joined, and Awakening told them about this, and then now Faze now they're amazing.
Yeah,
who knows? Like players might not even told their own teammates. Like they might just be using it, making the call out, and moving on. Like the teammates might not even question it, because he saw something
because of the kill cam glitches and stuff that they've had this whole year.
They're really good at calling out. Man, this guy's really good at calling out.
His awareness is insane.
Yeah, you just kind of pick your battles, which ones you're going to start calling out. I mean,
that's very possible. Just they're literally keeping it so in the AM scene. Honestly, that's very possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just keep it to yourself. You don't tell your teammates, you just keep it to yourself. You keep doing it. Makes you look great, and it helps your team.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, that again, it's so easy to jump to the conclusions that every great AM was cheating this whole year.
Yeah.
Every AM has been dominating this whole season was cheating, But realistically, it's probably, if you didn't know about it, then probably they didn't know about it too. Mm-hmm. If you're on the same level of like amateurness or proness in this case. But
I mean, like the pros didn't know about it, but again, AMs are kind of a different breed than
they
pros.
are a different breed. I'll give you that.
I think AMs put in more time and effort almost into it than pros do. Depending on the AM, I guess, but.
Yeah, I mean, like the question is just like, how far back does this go? You know, like did this thing start in June? Mm-hmm. Like, could you go back as far as like the Minnesota home series, like middle of June, and be like, yo, they were cheating there. Like, you know, the Mutineers were cheating there. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah.
Realistically, I'd imagine probably not. Like, someone would have figured it out before then, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like it does throw a ton of questions in the air. Like you said, like basically it makes all the pros think that whoever's actually winning right now is cheating.
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to get patched for champs. I think it will.
I think I probably am leaning on the side that I have confidence it's going to get patched. But I mean, the AM scene though, that's the big question is for AM like challengers and for last chance qualifiers. Like that's not going to be patched by Saturday. No chance.
No.
So as last chance qualifiers, every single one of those teams is going to be using it.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. They're the last chance qualifiers. They're probably not going to win no matter what. But
right.
You know.
So all those teams, I mean, it's so toxic. Like there's no way to monitor it unless you turn off kill cams. At least then you know everybody's on the same page. Like, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like
both the sucky situation.
They both blow.
Yeah.
They're both so just annoying and unfortunate.
I mean, here's the thing. It's champs also. So it's like, this is the last time they're going to be playing against each other. Like, there's no more scrims after this.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
Like, people are going to start just abusing it.
That's the thing.
More likely not going to get caught. If anything, at the end, it's going to be like, well, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Who knows? You know, I think that's what's going to happen. Either it gets patched or everyone's, I think, is going to start using it. And if you don't, you're going to fall way down.
Right. I guess there's some variables there. Like, how much roster mania would there be? Like, already, is there planning on being like, are pros comfortable with doing that? Or are they still scared that they might get blacklisted next year because of it? You know, I guess there would be like long-term potential effects with the COD League nowadays, mm-hmm. but I don't know. It is 100% like the temptation in a $4 million tournament. Of course, like there's going to be tons of temptation there.
Yeah.
Especially for guys who are on the fringe of whether or not they're going to get a roster spot next year. Mm-hmm. And like finishing top 6 at champs would be the way to get a roster spot.
Somebody's going to do it. Like, I don't think
if it's existing, yeah.
If it's existing, some pro, at least one or two, at least, are going to use it. There's like, no world where I think that they wouldn't.
Yeah, agreed, which is so unfortunate. I mean, it has to get patched. Otherwise, you're playing without kill cams.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the two.
Yeah.
So, just a terrible situation overall. But let's move on. This was kind of some fun news, or not fun, interesting speculation. So, Loony, obviously, there's been the rumors of Rise joining the COD League, and those rumors were kind of, gas was thrown into the flames this past week when Loony tweeted at Gunless with a GIF just saying "soon" at Gunless. And people are like, the Rise reunion of Loony and Gunless, dude?
Are they back?
Obviously, it could mean a whole bunch of things. Like, it could just mean that they're both benched. Like, how about this season's almost over? Could be like a soon, this season's almost over, thank the Lord, type thing for them. But it could also mean Rise is back and they're on Rise.
That'd be funny, honestly.
It's just bait. I think it's just bait. I mean, I think it's like one of those things where it's like it could happen, but like nothing's set in stone yet. Nothing's set in stone.
Yeah, right now it's just bait. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely most likely bait, but
it could be like a manifest destiny type stuff. It's like if you say it, then it becomes real.
Yeah, because I think both of Gunless's podcasts on
he's loved Loony.
Yeah. Like he always says, like they scream at each other, but then like they both respect each other.
But they've got the same intensity, which he loves about Loony. Yeah.
Maybe that's the winning duo right there. Who knows?
Maybe it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it, and I think it's something that could definitely happen. I just don't think any contract has been signed with that. I think.
Yeah, I would be.
It's for them. Even it's just kind of speculation. Like they don't even know for sure if it'll happen, but they probably want it to happen.
Yeah, because I wonder if Rise Nation even knows if they're gonna get a spot or not.
Probably not. I mean, I would imagine if they knew, like, it would like be leaked at least in some way.
Yeah.
At this point, like
it'd be announced, like.
Yeah, again, announced or leaked or something at this point, I feel like. But
Probably.
so that's always fun. I like the speculation, and again, we're all rooting for, hopefully 16 teams next year.
Maybe Slasher, instead of retiring, will go to Rise.
And Teej, you just bring back the full roster.
Teej could just be dropped in general.
Just Zinni.
Yeah, of course, after this year, I'm sure Slasher's like done with.
I'm done with
TJ.
Dude, everyone should be done with TJ. They should. He's been the most overrated pro I've ever seen in my life.
Hat should be coming soon.
I can't believe you actually ordered an Oak Boys hat.
No, I'll be rocking the Oak Boys hat when it gets here, dude.
You're so gross.
Oh my word, I'm so excited for that. But in other news, this was awesome. This is a heartfelt moment this week, man. On Friday in the Huntsmen pre-show, which shout out Huntsmen though, by the way, because that pre-show is sick and they do a great job with it every single week.
I know, I like it
and
too.
like, I literally I've actually been watching it after the event sometimes. Just be like, oh, I forgot to watch it this week. I should go check it out and see what they had to say, because they give good insight on it. And like sometimes it's stuff that I want to talk about in the podcast or in videos. And so I always find it like kind of nice to watch. And this week was a really good moment because Maniac, Nick Kirshner, is back on the Huntsmen. So if you guys haven't seen this yet, no free shoutouts, but you should go check it out, of course, because they announced in a very Vision-esque way, like of the old school OpTic ways, of Maniac being back on a squad. And they did that little dance in the hallway, which was hilarious.
Pretty good.
The one that Kevy Skills tweets every freaking day.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
he pretty much does.
Now he has the second one to tweet, so shout out. But overall, Maniac, apparently they got that deal done basically when they brought in Pristini. And they've been waiting to announce it till the right moment so they could get Maniac in the studio, and it all worked out perfectly. So they surprised him with it, and he nearly cried, and it was really heartfelt. So I was pretty excited about it, because I'm like, that's cool.
Definitely a throwback.
So, I mean, he is technically a substitute for the COD League. So, we have to talk about it here, which is pretty lit. So, that was just fun. I recommend you go check it out.
So, do Mutineers not have a sub anymore?
No, they still have Mox.
Mox?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Forgot about Mox.
He does exist.
Poor guy.
Poor guy, man. Things you truly hate to see.
Yeah.
Last few things here in the news section. I mean, some positive Cold War news, probably very positive actually, is that a very popular data miner who data mines any type of like esports and or gaming files he can find was data mining some new COD files from like apparently a pre-alpha version of the game, or an alpha version or a beta, something along those lines, a test version of this game that he somehow gets a hold of. I don't know how that works, but he's been very accurate in the past with things, and some YouTubers have used him in leak videos that have ended up coming true and things like that. So anyway, basically he came out and like leaked some files that there's already esports files in this test version of Black Ops Cold War. So that's pretty exciting. That they're already showing some potential there with that. So that's pretty exciting overall.
Yes.
Can we get a ranked at launch?
It gives some possibility of things. Like
honestly, what it looks like to me, because like the _esports_dev, I think it's gonna be like a esports-esque sort of codcaster thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know why I get that impression, but that's like the impression I get, is that it's gonna be codcaster, but just gonna have, for esports, for
right,
kind of what they did this year, but who knows?
Yeah, because we got the logo for Black Ops Cold War off a Doritos bag.
Always a Doritos.
It's always,
bag.
I mean, almost every single year that's kind of how it works. Usually it's like the Doritos or the Mountain Dew cans help leak things about Call of Duty, and so it said that supposedly, based off like what the Gaming Revolution was saying, is that there's a pretty high chance that it's going to be releasing in the end of October, is what the Gaming Revolution believes.
Which I suppose is what it
normally releases, but that is 3 months away.
Where's our beta?
We don't even know the title officially. I mean, we do now, but we didn't. They haven't announced it.
Yeah, they must literally be balls to the wall, just grinding out like every last minute thing. I don't know.
Unless they're just completely like this is like a planned thing to completely change their marketing strategy, which I mean, maybe it's possible.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But
maybe no, because like I was gonna say, maybe they're holding off until champs, but all Call of Duty isn't tied up into CDL though. Like,
right? Why would they do that?
Yeah, so like that wouldn't make any sense.
Do you think they'll even release a beta for it?
Gosh,
or
I
do you think this will be the year
Again.
where it's like we're not releasing a beta? Because here's the thing: if you play the beta and you don't like the COD, you're like, oh, this COD's gonna be bad, not gonna buy the game. Or you can just
just hard sell it. You hard sell it with advertisements.
Yeah, just hard sell with advertisements. Like either buy the game or so everyone will just go out and buy it.
Oh, man, that would be crazy if there's no beta.
Who doesn't want to play the new
been a
COD?
beta.
I mean,
there was an alpha for Modern Warfare.
Yeah, the duos or the gunfight
2v2
alpha.
Yeah,
so like that was like released right around now last year, pretty like early August was when the gunfight beta was released, and then the actual beta was released a few weeks after that.
Yeah.
Normally the betas are like in mid to late August or early September at the latest. So I mean, like realistically, we'd normally be like less than a month away from a beta.
Imagine a world they don't release a beta, but we just get the complete game off the start, and it's like fully completed with ranked, with everything we want. It looks clean.
Me with this.
The gameplay is just nice. The guns are balanced off the beginning with no beta or anything. Just you open the game, it's just like, oh my god, this is beautiful. It is everything I ever wanted. In life.
That's literally impossible. Like you're just teasing us with sadness.
That's what I would love to see. Something like that's where I'd be like, I'm okay with no beta, because if that happened, like that game would blow up.
Oh yeah,
I have a better chance of being Formal's best friend than that happening.
You have a better chance of having Formal's child.
I suppose you took it just one step further there, huh?
But yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, continue to keep you guys updated on the Black Ops Cold War stuff. And then one thing. Do you guys see the clip that I tweeted it of the lead designer for that new game Rogue Company?
Yeah.
And like he was literally just like so open about like, all right, guys, we've heard your complaints. The stun grenades are OP. Smokes seem to be more powerful, and like blah 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 blah. It's happening, and I'm like, oh. Could you imagine?
They explain each thing. It's like, okay, we're reducing the radius of the smokes, but it's also going to last a little bit longer. Or maybe
and why they were doing it. He was literally explaining why they did it and like their thought process behind it.
I'm telling you, Call of Duty has to detach. Call of Duty competitive has to detach from Call of Duty as a franchise if they want that kind of support.
One day, yeah.
Like it's just not going to happen with like Rogue Companies. Is the game that we're talking about. Their brand new game, its sole focus seems to be competitive gameplay.
Well, are they an indie company too? So like,
I don't know who the company is.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
So like, it's a bit different with indie
Published
companies.
by
You have more
High-Rise
freedom
Studios,
to do whatever you want. But
But I don't know. I just think it's impossible to get that kind of feedback and support when there's so many other things tied up into Call of Duty. Obviously, I don't know. It probably will never happen that Call of Duty competitive, get its own like COD mobile game where it's just like, one game for competitive. But that'll always be a dream of mine. Just like one game separate from, the Call of Duty franchise, the pubs, the Warzone.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. The gaming revolution. I just read another tweet here. He believes that the reveal will happen between August 3rd and August 10th.
Okay. Well, it's coming up.
Yeah, so next, like in a week and a half or so potentially next podcast or the following one for sure. So that'd be pretty fun.
And we'll be set with that as COD, and then I don't know.
And Slasher can finally be happy.
It has jetpacks. It has boots on the ground.
No.
It has both. So you have an uplink game mode where you actually use jetpacks or wall running for uplink. Then you also have like your S&Ds or whatever that you can stay at, that is required that you stay on the ground. I think they can do that. Just certain game modes have jetpacks, others don't. I think you can do it.
Yeah. Well, the last thing, speaking of other esports, is Shotzzy didn't shut down the idea. Sam, this is your area of expertise.
Oh, yeah.
Shotzzy did not shut down the idea of going back to competing in Halo if, in a world, Halo's competitive popped off.
Yeah.
Like, basically, someone asked him, like, yo, if Halo was great and, like, really popular, would you potentially go back? And he was like, maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I
will say the gameplay was trash.
No, it wasn't. But anyways,
terrible.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure Frosty's been asking the same question, and Frosty's old teammate Snakebite, who streamed regularly.
Lottie's boyfriend.
Lottie boyfriend.
That's only how I know him as.
Yeah. He's been asked the same thing, and Snakebite, again, Lottie's boyfriend, is pretty much he trying to speak on Frosty's behalf, was saying, listen, like these Halo pros that have gone to Call of Duty, it's going to be so hard to get them back.
They're in a good spot.
They've got contracts. Halo is not there. Like,
they're basically restarting the esport.
Halo's pretty much restarting everything. There's no way there's going to be a franchise league. And Frosty and Shotzzy, they've got a good spot. They're both on really good teams. They both have really high stock value right now. And so it's like, yeah,
especially Shotzzy. How do you pull that guy away?
It'd be nice. And I'm sure those guys, probably his first love is Halo. But at the same time, you have to think for yourself and do what's best for yourself. And right now, I think Call of Duty is going to be better than Halo for the foreseeable future, unless for some miracle they announce franchising, which is it's not going to happen. But
Halo, or the Halo is like somehow becomes as popular as like Halo 3 and Halo 2 were.
But even then, maybe not.
Because
I don't know, they were pretty popular back in the day.
I
mean, they were.
Going from Halo 5 to franchise league was probably a huge jump in salary, money, sponsorships, and so it's gonna be hard to get them back. But
especially when the COD League's like next year's gonna be like its first real season, hopefully at least. Honestly,
on land.
I think so.
He hasn't really on land yet. Well, except for
I don't
twice.
see these guys come back to Halo next
unless
year.
Unless a drastic something happens.
Maybe in like 3 years, maybe like, hey,
if COD's something kills COD.
I would not expect those guys to be back next year.
Boy, I'm definitely not expecting it after that gameplay. Yikes.
The graphics were a little rough, but hey, I thoroughly enjoyed the movement that I saw. So Halo for life.
I thought Halo looked all right. No. I'll get it.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to disagree to disagree. We're going to agree to disagree on that one. All right, guys, let's move into segment 1 here, kind of the reaction, and we'll talk a little bit of Call of Duty.
Trash. Garbage.
CDL Toronto, man. Again, we were expecting some Titan matchups this weekend with, Faze, the Huntsmen, with Empire, with Florida. Like, what in the world did we just get here, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, what is your initial reaction on the tournament as a whole, and where are you at with it, Rex?
I don't know if I consider it legitimate because of the... I'm serious, because of the start glitch. Like, how broken is that? And like, if Toronto is using that the whole tournament, they beat Huntsmen, they beat the top 3. Huntsmen, Faze, and
they went through the gauntlet.
It's like...
it's crazy.
It's sketch, especially where Ultra was. It's just like... I don't know.
You can kind of see like Classic maybe with, like he used Rampart last year.
Oh, really? You're using that stereo?
I don't know.
I think it was Kleenex.
I don't know.
If we're throwing names out there, I think Kleenex was the cheater, to be honest. But
just based off that Shotzzy clip?
Based off that Shotzzy clip. It's the only one that makes sense. The second he died is when the 180 turn happened. It was just like...
Yeah. I mean, again, it was a crazy run from Toronto. I mean, it all started... Maybe we can talk about a little bit of that controversy. Excuse me.
Whoa.
Wow. We can talk a little bit of that controversy, obviously. It all started when the Huntsmen were playing Toronto on Petro. Again, apparently Petro's just cursed. And Pristini disconnected at the beginning of the map. Huntsmen were winning.
No, they were down.
They were down?
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, because Seattle was winning last time.
Yeah.
But it was a close game.
Yeah.
Pristini disconnected early on in the game, and of course, like we all kind of expected the second it happened, they forfeited the map.
Yep.
And lo and behold, they play some S&D, and Toronto clutch up once again behind Cammy's absolute dominance. And again, no kill cam glitch can explain Cammy's absolute dominance in S&D.
Cammy just popped off. He's incredible sniper.
Literally insane. Like, they were playing amazing, and supposedly the glitch doesn't even affect S&D. So realistically, if there's any purity in this, it's Toronto's pretty much really amazing S&D play this weekend is pretty nice.
Yeah. However, we can't say one good thing about that Huntsman series lagging out was that OpTic Gaming got 50-point clubbed by Ultra 5v5. Huntsman scored more points, greater than 50 points with 4v5. So
let's go.
We're good, Huntsman. We're good.
Oh my.
That is wild.
I forgot about that. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, but like on that topic slightly, someone did tweet out like, if it's a 4v5, like give them the option to just quit. Like it's just like it's not fair to the stats. Just get bombarded.
It's honestly not.
It's not fair.
Like wow, Huntsman really suck at Petro at hardpoint.
It's like oh wait, no, it's 4v5 for the majority of the game.
Yeah,
but anyways,
that's true.
Tangent.
Yeah, I mean, again, going into this weekend was massive for so many points, or for so many teams with points involved when it comes to the standing for champs with CDL points. Excuse me, my goodness, going off today. So basically, Toronto was sitting in 9th place, right outside the top 8. Obviously, the top 8 start in the winner's side of things. And again, the guaranteed cash difference is massive from there. And again, the bottom 4 aren't guaranteed any cash because if you lose that first round matchup from losers,
you're donezo.
You're donezo, and you make no money. And so not only did the Toronto Ultra win the event, which means they got 10K each from the event, they guarantee themselves $20,000 at champs. So a big payday for Toronto over the weekend, which is why they were so hyped. And again, with that much on the line, you're probably willing to do anything.
certain buttons you're willing to push.
Yeah.
You'll push.
But I will say that Toronto is probably not the only team doing it.
Oh,
no.
Definitely not. I mean,
but it just makes you question.
Some people thought
every team makes you question every
100%
team.
I mean, some people really thought Faze were doing it, and I mean, some people were calling out Minnesota on it.
Florida,
of course. So who knows? Obviously, anybody could have been using it realistically. So it's really, really hard to say. And again, so Toronto went from 9th to 7th. So the final standings on the year, you got Faze, Dallas, Florida, Chicago, New York, London, Toronto, Rocker, OpTic, Paris, Seattle, LAG was the final standings there. And just absolutely crazy stuff overall. I mean, the Huntsmen had the opportunity if they would have, punched their ticket to a grand final. They could have been the number 2 seed and passed up Dallas, but that loss to Ultra and then falling short again to OpTic Gaming. That's tough. Falling short to OpTic, getting knocked out of the tournament cost them big. And that was kind of that's why they end up finishing 4th. But
which they were tied with Florida, but then the head-to-head.
Yep, the head-to-head record in the past few events.
Yeah,
really skewed things there.
Yeah,
and now you go back and look at honestly, do we know off the top of our heads what the final record count was of Huntsman versus Florida?
Were they not 0-3
versus Florida? I'm not sure.
Were they 0-3?
I feel like they were 0-3, but I don't know.
Yeah, I could probably pull that up here in a second, but yeah, I mean, again, what are your thoughts on like Faze's performance and the fact that they came out on top in the standings?
I mean, clearly they're really good. They're still really good. I mean, even if Toronto were cheating, they still, made it to game 5, round 11.
Right.
So, but who's to say Faze hasn't been cheating this whole time? They've already been kind of called out for possibly, using the ATS. And as we know, that, whole org is kind of a sketchy organization. So,
well, apparently, I don't know. But at least the AMs. But yeah, like, dude, all I'm saying, bro, I was talking about last podcast. I'm like, yo, Faze is going to rebound. They're going to get back to the drawing board and they're going to look really good. And they looked amazing until the finals.
Yeah.
They looked so good. They 3-0'd Rocker. They 3-0'd Dallas. Then they 3-0'd OpTic. And then they fall short against Toronto.
I think the one thing that saves Faze from like total flack against them was that they were amazing on LAN too. So it's like
right. Season long.
Any one of these players could have been cheating and doing it
for a while now.
But
potentially,
I honestly think that Faze is just really good right now.
Nasty, yeah.
So
I don't think you can deny Faze is super good.
aBeZy and Simp had over a 1.2 on this event, and they didn't win.
That's wild.
I mean, it was by far BZ's best individual event of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't win it, which is crazy. Again, I mean, they were dominant for their first 3 of their 4 matches. So you can still have a down series and have insane stats. But I really thought Faze was going to get in that championship, in that final, and make easy work at Toronto. But that last S&D was absolutely insane.
Yeah, it was really entertaining to watch.
That's
oh my gosh, dude. That series was sick.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
I mean, Toronto took, Dallas to... Because Toronto beat Dallas 3-1, and that first hard point was crazy close.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they literally had some of the best series, like most entertaining, interesting series of the whole year this time around. Because they had both of those hard points. Dallas lost 250 to 247 on Gunrunner, and then they lost 250 to 244 on Petro.
Mm.
And Dallas looked like they had that in the bag on Petro.
Yeah.
And then they lost the rotation and tried to push for like that scrap time on P5, and they just got absolutely destroyed by Kleenex in mid-map, and then it completely screwed them out on the rotation, which was crazy. Oh my gosh. And so Toronto was just clutching up time after time. They won that series. They won the S&D 6-5 against Empire in that series too. So it's just like, what in the world was I watching this weekend with Toronto?
Yeah. Yeah, they seem like a different...
They're cracked.
Even though I will say I feel like they've been the closest. They've lost a lot of game 5s.
Really competitive overall, yeah.
And so you can't make a case for that they've been pretty good all season. Not, there's a time where they weren't that, but they've been making strides all season. So I don't know. Unless
they've improved every event.
Yeah, like unless they've been consistently, using the glitch. Everything we say is going to be with an asterisk. If the team was,
if they were using the glitch,
exactly.
If they weren't using it.
No, I think you could have looked back at their most recent events and could have seen, hey, these guys are actually improving every single time, and it was about time that they won an event. So props to them, honestly.
Like when it comes to like Empire and their loss there, I mean, Empire looked really, really, really good at moments too. I mean, like you could say Faze, Empire, Huntsmen, and Ultra all looked really, really, really good at moments in this tournament. And even Florida had their moments where like, oh wow, Florida, like that's a statement right there. And then things came crawling back.
I mean, did we talk about that 6 of the 12 teams have won now?
Right. 6 of the 12 have won, and 10 of the 12 have gone to a grand final. So shout out LHE and Seattle.
So like, how do you
destined to go to a grand final?
How do you say, like, I'm not confident in...
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What is the reason for the parity in the COD League? Is that kind of where you're getting with that?
Yeah.
What's the reason
top
for the parity
four,
in
like
the COD
100
League?
points higher?
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, sure there were consistent teams all year long that were like competitive and very, very good. But I mean, we saw 6 teams win it. We saw 10 of the 12 in a grand final. I mean, how much of that do you attribute to the game? How much of that do you attribute to only having 12 teams? How much of that do you attribute to only having 8 of the 12 at every event?
Man, I think you have 12 teams, which means that you have
the talent.
The talent is going to be insane, right? However, there was a back and forth between, I think it was Aches and Maven, where Maven was saying like he thinks that it just goes to show like just the amount of talent present in the league. But then Aches came back, of course, and said it's a terrible take. Let me pull it up exactly what he said.
Ooh,
but
was he arguing the format?
He was saying that gosh, I don't know. Give me a second.
Well, since looking
boys.
at that, Rex, what do you think? Do you think it's more? What has more effect, the format of the year with only having 8 of the 12 and the predetermined, pools for every event? Is it the talent in the league, top to bottom? That's why there's parity, or where are you at with it?
I mean, I think it's just that I think the teams who are in the top are legitimately just better teams we're better teams for the most part.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really blame it on format so much. I mean, maybe a little bit depending on who they were grouped up with and pools and stuff but I mean, I honestly believe the top, everyone kind of earned the points that they got.
Yeah.
Found the tweet.
Okay.
So Eggs tweeted out 6 out of 12 teams won an event. 10 out of 12 made a final. Jeesh. Clint Maven comes back and says, I know the game is a big part of it, but I actually think the bigger part is the format team reduction. Only 12 teams this year versus 16, so more competitive. Only 8 out of 12 teams at each home series. And then Egg said, I disagree. I think the format change is a small part and the game is a big part.
Really?
Your argument would make sense if the current game didn't have 15 new pros this year. So he was saying that because there's 15 new pros,
it shows that this game just...
It shows that the game is inconsistent.
That's weird.
It's kind of a weird take because he's assuming that the 15 new pros can't be as good as current pros
on other games.
Yeah.
If this wasn't Modern Warfare.
Yeah. So I can slightly see his point, but I think he's just kind of being a downer at this point.
I truly think the biggest X factor this year was that pros just didn't like playing the game. I mean, obviously, maybe they didn't like it because it felt inconsistent. It felt fluky. But I mean, and there are moments where it is, of course, but we kind of know the maps that are most prone to be inconsistent.
Yeah.
Generally, Hackney is the most renowned to being inconsistent with some crazy stuff happening on it. But like, I just don't understand the take that, this game is the sole reason, unless you're going to say that unless you're blaming the pros' lack of willingness to grind on the game, therefore not the pros, it's the game, which if you're Aches, probably you do. Mm-hmm. But I just don't agree with that. I mean, like, at the end of the day, it's the pros that weren't willing to put in the time, where the AMs, they're willing to put in the time because this is their livelihood on the line. Of course they're going to put in the time versus the pro who's locked up a big contract.
Okay, I'm not following the conversation here. So what do we... So you're saying why are the AMs, like these new players, seem so much better than everybody else?
No, well, the end-all be-all debate is why is there so much parity in the league? Why did half of the league win a tournament this year? And why did 10 of the 12 make it to grand finals? That's insane.
Oh, okay.
That does not happen anywhere else. And Aches is saying it's because of the game.
It could be due to being online. I honestly feel like online plays a big part in it. And
it does.
Someday, some team had a great online tournament, like good internet that day, and just decide to go off. Online really, makes things a little bit sketchier. So if anything, I would just say just because it's online.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
I mean, okay,
but I mean, you also can blame like there's all these other teams are making swaps, new rosters coming in, new subs coming in, that makes them better or worse. Subliners, Mac Mellis all of a sudden comes in, that team is elevated a ton. So,
right, and Aches is saying that's solely because Mac Mellis is only good because of this game and won't be good in the future. Is basically what Aches is saying.
Possibly, but that doesn't really relate. It just means
he's
good in this game. It makes their team better. Like they got more points because of him.
Yeah, it's a tough argument overall. Okay, let's move on to power rankings. I think because we got a long ways to go here. So let's get into the power rankings and we'll get going. And we are once again deciding who is the best in the game. So, I'll switch to the screen here. Hopefully it pulls up. It does. There we go.
Yeah, hey.
So this is our format. If you guys are new around here on YouTube, you guys can see it. Audio listeners will try to make sure to voice it as much as possible. We've got, 5 potential tiers that you can work with here. You have all flexibility to put as many tiers in one, or as many teams in one tier as you'd like, and move forward from there. So that's kind of how we do it. We're going to go through the teams. We're going to try to keep it at least keep up the pace here a little bit.
Yeah.
So we have some time to talk about MVPs, the MVP discussion at the end, because we talked about it a little bit last week, but we want to hear, things have changed and we want to hear Sam's opinion.
Yes.
So a lot going on there. So let's start from the bottom. All right, boys. Last time we had a lot of the same opinions. Mm-hmm. So I'll be interested to see where we're at with this. I think we're probably going to agree for the most part, but the tiers is what's going to be the most interesting, I think.
Yeah.
So who do you guys got at the bottom here? And just go from there.
I think I might have Seattle at the bottom.
Really?
They just have shown nothing.
Worse than LAG.
I think I'm going to have to agree with Sam on this one.
LAG has the chance to perform better, then I don't know.
I agree with you.
The run. I mean, I don't know. I'm actually split. Like, I get that the argument of the upside, like, what's the upside of Proto? What's the upside of Panda right now versus like the upside of like Vivid and Blast and Decimate, and how's that going to play out? But I mean, LAG just they haven't shown anything either their past 2 outings really.
No, yeah.
And
they've gotten better. They've definitely improved.
I mean, are they in the same tier to you? At the end of the day, like they're in the same
LAG?
tier.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Right. So, and they're probably in a tier of their own down there, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
put
some more names up before I do some tiers, but
right.
It could definitely be their own tier, honestly.
Yeah, I'm kind of split on it. I wouldn't mind it either way, realistically, I'd say, but I'm probably just gonna go LAG, LAG then Seattle.
I'd probably, and this could be some recency bias. I'm slightly gonna move forward here.
Okay.
I might have put Paris in that same tier, but their last event,
they beat LAG and then they beat London.
Yeah, so it's like,
and then they made the grand finals and lost to Dallas.
That might have been fluke. Like, that's I really want to talk about Paris,
Rex.
because I really want Paris. I really want them to be better than, like, I really want them to be kind of good.
Right.
But they had literally one run.
Yeah. No,
before that,
and see that,
they had done nothing.
And that's the kind of internal argument I'm having is, do I keep that recency bias and put them in a tier above?
I mean, they were winning S&Ds, and again, if you're worried about the glitch, the S&Ds don't apply supposedly. So I that's why I'm putting them, giving them the benefit of the doubt and leaving them probably in the above them.
Yeah.
But I will keep them at 10 at this point because it's just like I'm not exactly sure where this would play out from here on out.
Yeah.
But I'll be interested to see where they end up in your guys' tiers there, because that's kind of where like the biggest questions are.
Yeah.
I mean, do both of you have Paris at 10 as well?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, but 9 though.
You right now, I actually have exactly what the standings are. I have LAG at last, Seattle next, and then Paris.
I'm curious about a 9 because 9, I think I'm gonna put Rocker.
Yeah, which is pretty depressing.
Yeah.
It is.
They have declined so.
That is
hard.
Really depressing.
At the beginning of this year,
I have to agree.
We were talking about top 3 for Rocker.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Contender for top 2. I mean, in my first power rankings, they were way up there.
And then
way up there.
What? Again, there's so many conversations to have around Rocker. Did online completely screw them? Did they just hit their cap early on, and then we just saw the teams catch up? I think a lot of people would lean towards that they just knew the game earlier than the rest of the teams, and then the teams caught up.
Or was it online?
But I mean,
I don't know. They're central. Like
Godorex was put up massive stats. Like, how do you have that big of a drop?
I know.
I don't know. But as it stands right now, Rocker they have nothing going for them.
Probably a combination of the two. I mean, like they really haven't shown those flashes at all. But again, they've had some really tough matchups the past few events, so maybe they're a little bit more dangerous than what we think they are overall. But at the same time, it's like if they're not really showing it against the good teams, then what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
It's a tough call. It definitely is a tough call for me. I personally think I have a little bit more faith in the Rocker than you guys. And quite honestly, in this, people are going to hate this. I think I want to put Ravens here.
Yep. I called that. I whispered in London.
Wow. People are going to hate that. They are going to hate that a lot. Worse than wait. Did you already put OpTic down?
No,
I haven't put OpTic down.
Bro, Rex has been a London hater this year.
My word, the O boys in London.
I don't hate London, but they're just underwhelming. I feel like they get more hype than they actually deserve.
What?
They've never had a game where I've been super impressed by them.
I get that they're not like a top 5 team, but worse than OpTic?
I mean, that's where it's
explain the OpTic one to me. Explain OpTic to me.
That's where it's the tough call for me because OpTic, there's parts of OpTic that I see glimmers of like possibility, and there's still in this like gray area for me a little bit, since they are still a sort of fresh team. And Draza and Hollow, I feel like Draza has a little bit of potential to be a little bit better. So that's where it's like I could change that to OpTic right now and then put Ravens.
Right.
But I feel like OpTic has more of like, I don't know what I'm going to get with OpTic. Whereas Ravens, I feel like I have an understanding that I know what I'm going to get a little bit.
Yeah.
So I feel like OpTic is more of like something could happen and OpTic could take off a little bit more than Ravens could.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's strange. It's strange. Is all I have to say.
That's a bad call. That's all I gotta say. But all right, so I'm gonna put. You got Rave. I mean, Sam, are you putting OpTic here? Are you putting who's your thoughts here? OpTic, Toronto, London.
Because right now, I think the next logical 3 choices are between Raven, Ultra, and OpTic, right?
Yeah, probably.
I honestly, as much as OpTic has shown signs of life,
I'm putting OpTic.
I think I'm putting OpTic here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, now I think the bigger debate for me is whether I'm putting the Ultra or London next. I mean, of course, Ultra did just absolutely run through the competition. Mm-hmm. So it's like, obviously in some people's minds, you're like, okay, they'll just beat the top 3 teams. Of course, they're a top 5 team. But like, then the debate comes in: do you really believe in it? Do you really buy it?
To me, just something London is more capable than Ultra.
I'm gonna start filling in some of these tiers here.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Ultra at 7.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, they literally did just beat probably your top 3 teams.
Probably, yeah. With an asterisk. No, I'm not gonna incorporate that, but
yeah.
Oops. Yeah, I don't know. Like, again, with online league, it does seem like a team will randomly kind of go off,
and make that run.
But as I previously had said, that's kind of contradictory. That Ultra has been close, game 5s and losing them. Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, I think in the head-to-head, London would take Ultra. But I can't really.
Yeah, I don't think London would take Ultra.
I mean, again, London in their last series, they beat Surge 3-1, then they beat the Mutineers 3-2, then they lost to Paris 3-2.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you really can't put Paris too much higher or too much lower than London.
Yeah.
Which is that's the tough debate.
Mm-hmm.
But again, and then if you want to blame, that on whatever, like the glitch or whatever you want to say. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think I might have OpTic, London, Rocker, and Paris all in the same tier here.
Really?
London's debatable.
This is what I'm doing, I think.
But
here.
I don't know. I'm going to put Toronto in their own. The winners are all going to be in a different tier, in my opinion, here. So I'm putting Toronto here at 6. Rex got subliners. Really? High on Ultra.
Yeah, so this is definitely a tough call for me.
Between
really? Subliners and Ultra.
Subliners?
I feel like I almost feel like I'm really going off of recency bias by putting Ultra above subliners.
Yeah, you are. Especially with a guy who has asterisks all over this tournament.
I know, I do. But, I mean, you can't deny Ultra had some S&D wins. Like, they look great. And Ultra has been consistently improving each tournament.
Yeah. With all their roster changes.
Yeah. And subliners have kind of feel like they've leveled out a little bit. Whereas Ultra still kind of seem to be on this upward trend.
I mean, yeah, obviously, London or New York didn't have the best of performances. They 3-0'd LAG, then they lost 3-0 to Dallas, then they lost 3-0 to Paris.
Yeah.
So I get that.
That's why I think I'm putting Ultra above subliners for me. And I also changed my OpTic rate. I put Ravens above OpTic.
Right. I mean, you did. You put Ravens above OpTic?
I changed it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good call. That's a good call. I mean, I guess at the end of the day for me, it's like if you're putting, Paris in the bottom tier, but Paris just 3-0'd the subliners and they beat Ravens. Like, I feel like Paris has to be at least in the middling tier.
Mm.
Right?
I mean, I think it was sort of fluky though. Like it's so weird because Paris just comes off a win. Now Ultra's winning. It's just like what's happening in the world. So, like things are kind of thrown out of whack. It's like how much do I give Paris for that one-time run? How much do I give? Like when they've done literally nothing. They literally have not looked much better from anything. Then all of a sudden, they're great during this tournament when they have not shown a consistent upward trend for me.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep Paris down there, is because they had one tournament where they just played out of their minds, but everything before that did not look like they were getting much better, whereas Ultra have looked like they've been getting better every time. And I say it every podcast, Ultra seems to be getting better every tournament.
It does kind of feel like the subliners peak, which is why I have the subliners at 5. You have the subliners at 5. I'm seeing it right here.
Yep.
So we're not like, none of us are crazy high on the subliners, I guess. At this point, again, it feels like that meta, the 1 week change to the 9mm. I mean, they won it that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, is that why they peaked? Is that the reason why they were so good? That's the question. It's hard to say. But that's why I definitely don't lack like a top 4 or a top, really a top 4 confidence in the subliners right now. So that's not unreasonable, Rex, I don't think. But all right, Rex, who you got at 4?
Huntsmen.
Whoa.
Going with Huntsmen at 4.
Really?
Yeah, I've never been high on the Huntsmen.
I mean, obviously not after some of our conversations, but the Mutineers?
Yeah, I think Mutineers have been, other than this last tournament, but like, Mutineers have been good. Awakening's great. Their whole team, they're pretty solid, whereas Huntsmen are much more prone to just playing like dirt or to playing great. Like, they're so, like, it's either they're bad or they're good. Whereas Mutineers have kind of always put up a fight,
The problem with Huntsmen is they've got to be one of the most inconsistent.
Exactly.
They're an emotional team.
Exactly. That's a good way. They're just inconsistent.
And so it's hard to put them above 4 for me because yes, they have the talent to be a top 2 team, but you can never count on them.
The Mutineers just got 3-0'd by Dallas. They 3-1 the Rocker.
Mm-hmm.
They lost 3-2 to Dallas. Then in the London series, they lost 3-0 to Dallas. They beat OpTic 3-1. They beat Seattle 3-1, and they beat OpTic 3-2. So like they're solid. They're beating the teams they should beat for the most part. They're losing to Dallas. Dallas has got the best of them now 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the bigger debate there, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have confidence in the Huntsmen in champs overall, which I'm sure will like come through in my power rankings. I'd imagine I'm gonna put the Mutineers at 4 and the Huntsmen at 3, but they're definitely in the same tier.
Interesting.
At least for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is that? Why'd you put Huntsmen above Mutineers?
Because I just think the Huntsmen, they caught the worst break ever with that disconnect, and it tossed them into that emotional down spiral that's just how those guys work. Seth and Formal overall, they've always been emotional guys that they don't bounce back well off of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously I should, like, in a big perspective, that like counts against them, but like in a power rankings for like leading into COD champs, I'm not going to discount that on them necessarily. Of course they beat Seattle 3-1, which is whatever. And we hadn't seen them since the New York homestand where, they beat New York 3-2, they beat Faze 3-0, and then they got reverse swept, or they lost 3-0 to New York on the same maps. And they looked good there. Obviously it was in the 9mm week. So things are a little fluky and not as meaningful, but I do think I have faith in the Huntsmen as a whole moving forward based off what I saw from them before the disconnect overall. So
yeah.
I think are we all going to have Dallas Faze here? I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, hurts my soul.
Unfortunately, I know. Are they all in their own tier as well?
Yeah.
Oh my word,
so.
That's beautiful. Look at that, boys.
I think
mean,
so.
Empire, they 3-0'd Mutineers. Empire basically was crushing everybody, except for Ultra apparently. But I want to see them play Faze again. Really do.
Yeah, I know. That was what was so disappointing about this weekend was the potential of so many awesome matchups.
Yeah.
Of Huntsmen versus Faze again. Dallas v Faze was possible.
Yes.
More Dallas Mutineers was possible. And instead we got Faze versus OpTic and Dallas versus Toronto, which obviously ended up being pretty epic.
Did play Mutineers. They just 3-0'd them.
Right. But
So
we could have had rematches in those categories or other things.
Yeah.
But so for the average casual fan, the semifinals matchups were probably a little bit disappointing because it was Toronto versus Dallas and OpTic versus Faze versus what we could have had.
And then Faze versus Ultra, it's like,
Yeah,
but,
exactly. But just it was disappointing based off what we could have potentially had with the epic matchups.
Yeah.
But it ended up delivering because the matches were awesome at the end of the day. So
really were.
obviously I'm excited about that. But
I think this was going to make
that.
Champs so great is because those good teams are going to be playing. I mean, hopefully the team that is supposed to be there gets that Champs.
Right.
I don't want.
So
I really don't want to see a Seattle Surge just crazy run to win Champs. I really don't want to see it. I wish Champs didn't have everybody there, to be honest.
Right.
I mean, that's always been my opinion. I want to see people who've been placing really, really well there. Like top 6 is who I'd want there.
Right. I mean, I don't know. Do you have, let's real quick before we get to the format of Champs and how that's going to go down, do you have any final thoughts on the power rankings themselves? I mean, going into Champs, could anything potentially change for you over the next few weeks unless there's a meta change or something? Or is there any news that could come out that could potentially change anything?
Obviously, if the Start Glitch gets patched, then Ultra might go down a lot, but I'm kidding.
In my mind, I was kind of more power ranking based off the thought that it would get patched, I guess is kind of where I was at with it. I mean, Rex, are you kind of going, did you, with your power rankings, were you considering that?
I kind of was considering it. I mean, if it wasn't in, I maybe would put Subliners back in above Ultra, but I guess the question for me is how much does that glitch, how much does that affect how good the team is,
Right.
And so was Faze using it or not using it? I don't know. They went 3-2 with Ultra. And I mean, at this point, I kind of assume Ultra did it. I know I have no real proof, but I just am highly sus of them. So I kind of just chalk up that Ultra was definitely using it, at least one of the players. So I don't know how much of an effect it has. They beat Empire 3-1, which is just maybe I'm butthurt, but that was just crazy to me. And that was also the matchup where the cheating was the most obvious to me.
Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, Sam, we're same or no?
Yeah, I just feel like this is going to be it for me for Champs. That this is going into it. I don't think anything's going to change unless a player cannot play.
Yeah, for something crazy.
Simp for some reason it gets. COVID. And
overall, Faze looked so dominant in those first 3 matches, and then they just. I don't know what happened in the finals. I thought they were going to wipe the floor, like I said earlier, with Toronto. So props to Toronto for that, but that's where things get a little sus. Is I don't know.
They beat Faze, they beat Empire. Faze, I actually probably give more credit to them versus the Faze match because they did take a 3-2, and who knows if Faze was using it also.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the biggest question, and the S&Ds, those were epic. Just awesome overall. So I feel that.
Yeah,
all right,
and
let's
the
transition
S&D was
in.
great. Can't use it
Let's transition into the COD Champs talk then, because there's a lot to go through here for sure. Of course, the standings, the bracket is finally out, and everything else. So obviously, we got do I have the bracket pulled up here? I might. Maybe not. I don't. Darn. I was hoping I'd be able to pull up the bracket here, but I don't have it.
I mean,
unfortunate.
Winners round 1 is Subliners Rocker.
Yeah, I might edit it in here.
Okay.
But there's a lot to go on here with what we're seeing. There's a lot of potential massive matchups here with some exciting ones. Obviously, the schedule is a little weird because they're happening on different days, and it's not all back-to-back-to-back like Champs normally is or big tournaments are. So we've got the first 2 matchups on the 19th of August, and that's OpTic versus Gorillas and Paris versus Seattle.
That's gonna Paris versus Seattle is gonna be such a hype match for me. Dude. I'm so excited for that. I love it when Paris plays any bad team because I'm like, oh, is Paris actually better than Seattle Surge? Like that's gonna be such an exciting match.
Well, what's so interesting with all these, first round matchups and just Champs as a whole is that you have like 3 or more weeks to prepare for this one match potentially. And so like how much VOD can you ever watch on one team is they're going to be able to decide that. Obviously that's kind of how it works with the first round matchups of the events this year anyway. But these matches are big. It's a $20,000 match to start off the tournament. The losing team takes home nothing. $0. This whole season of pain and suffering for like Octane, if they lose this match, nothing to show for it. Not $1 this whole year. So that is exciting in itself with the money on the line, not to mention just that it's a winner go home situation because it's the loser's bracket. So, I mean, I'm hyped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we know what day Grand Finals is?
Grand Finals is on the 30th. So there's 11 days between the start of the tournament and the end of the tournament.
Oh, so there's only a 1 day like preparation period for Grand Finals. Okay.
Yep. That's right. So the next round of matches, which is the winner's first round, is played on August 20th, and we're going to go through like full on predictions in a future podcast, probably in 2 weeks, and we'll go through all the future predictions. Hopefully, maybe we'll see some scrims. Shout out Huntsmen. Hopefully, keep scrimming on stream, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I would be surprised if it does. Also, big shout out R-Cities, by the way. Did you guys see? Did you see this?
I saw your tweet,
bruh. R-Cities hosted me last night, which was insane. So shout out R-Cities, the man himself, dude. That was crazy.
The legend.
We were literally talking about the Huntsmen scrimming, or like whether or not the Huntsmen should stream their scrims, and then R-Cities hosted, which is like, what is the timing on that?
Well, good time.
But, that was nuts. So it's gonna be crazy overall. Obviously, again, Faze and Dallas, because they finished top 2, guarantee themselves a $300,000 top 6 finish, which is nuts.
Yeah.
And because, again, the Grand Finals is a best of 9 series, the team that comes from the winner's bracket starts with a 1 map advantage, which we've talked about a little bit already, but that's crazy.
Oh, they do? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they start with a 1 map advantage, so they start up 1-0, so you have to win 4 maps if you're coming from the winner's side. So the winning, either Faze or Dallas would only have to win 10 maps to win $1.5 million, dude. 10 maps for $1.5 million if they won 3-0, 3-0, 5-0.
That's
crazy.
Which they're only playing 4 maps in the grand final. So yeah, that's crazy. And then so the Huntsmen will be playing the winners in the winners quarters. So again, the Faze and Empire start in the winners semis. Huntsmen and Mutineers start in winners quarters. Huntsmen play the winners of New York Rocker, and the Mutineers play the winners of London Toronto. So I mean, what sticks out to you as a whole from this bracket? What's the first thing you're like, whoa, that's gonna be crazy, that's gonna be fun, that's interesting? Sam?
I mean, okay, go ahead, Sam.
Oh yeah. Sorry, Rex. If you have a thought, you can fire away.
Yeah, go for it, Rex.
I mean, I think my favorite part is like, I love the amount of time they get between. They get at least like a day to prepare for their matches.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Which I like that aspect. Like, we're getting like that 1 match for the day with those 2 teams or whatever. And then they get a day to prepare for the next team they're facing. So at least these teams are going to come in with some sort of preparation. And then winners finals is like 7 days from the winners round 3. So it's like that team, like Faze or Empire, gets 7 days to prepare for the next matchup.
I think as a viewer, it gets me excited because it's like, it allows you to be like, oh, dude, tonight is this match and this match. I just gotta set apart 2.5 hours to watch these 2 matches.
And these teams know who they're playing against. So like, teams are gonna come in they have to come in prepared. Like they know who they're playing, and they have so many, like 7 days prepare for this one team that they're playing. So like, that's what makes it hype for me. Is like it's gonna be really strategical and like much more like everything, much more like something planned out.
Yeah, like when it comes to like COD history, I honestly don't know in COD's competitive history if we've ever had this few matchups on certain days with this much on the line.
Yeah,
I mean, on August 22nd, you're gonna have 4 matches. And it's going to be Faze versus someone, Empire versus someone, and losers matches for people going home, And the winners, and the difference between those rounds is $75,000. Yeah. So it's like there's so much with only a few matches per day, and early on you're only going to have 2 matches per day, and then at the end, semifinals, there's 2 matches on that day or 3 matches on that day. Losers semis, losers finals, winners finals, and then champs is on its own day. Championship is on its own day. So it's gonna be really fun. I think I'm looking forward to that. With being able to set aside certain times, just go and watch the matches. That'll be really, really fun. I mean, anything else that sticks out to you overall? I mean, like with champs, Sam.
Honestly, it's just gonna be crazy. Be weird, like like the Huntsmen Mutineers. They win one game. They're playing. Huntsman's gonna be playing Faze. If they win, Mutineers, their first game they play Empire, so that's gonna be pretty crazy. But yeah, like the teams that are starting on elimination round 1 are gonna have to be playing a ton of games to get anywhere. Dude. So who knows? It would be crazy to see a run, but kind of like you said, Rex. I feel like I'd rather see someone that kind of deserves to be there. Just because
just because it's online, is that like kind of like why, like the thought that it'll feel fluky?
Yeah, like I mean, it would just be weird to like win 2+ home series and then like get knocked out.
But how epic would it be if OpTic?
It'd be cool if like
played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches to win champs.
Yeah,
that'd be nuts.
But that's where my problem is. Like, yeah, it'd be nuts, but it's like, but they suck the whole rest of the year. So it's like they just do this out of nowhere. It's like, what have we been watching this whole time? Like
it's like
point. It's like it's like going to the Super Bowl. It's like all of a sudden, I guess the Browns decide just to show up and they just won everything. It's like, what the hell?
Right. I mean, that's your argument versus like not all the teams making the playoffs versus making the playoffs. Like
it's just like it doesn't feel right. It's just like Faze and Empire deserve, Huntsmen, Mutineers, Subliners. They all deserve to kind of be there and fight for that spot where it's like Gorillas, Surge. If they make a run, it's just annoying.
But I mean, talk about the feeling of any team could potentially win it. I mean, that is the definition of this champs.
I don't like it. I mean,
who in the world could win this? Any of the top,
but that's not a fun feeling.
Any of the top 10
that's not a fun feeling. It's like anybody could win it. It's like that's not like I want to go like with the champs. It's like these people need to be there who like kind of deserved it, especially being online. It's like sure at an event, I'm fine with everybody being there and like you can make those runs. Like oh great, they've getting their points. But now we're at the point where it's like those points needed to matter, and it's like having everybody there makes it seem like. Not that they don't matter as much, like they still do, but it's like I wanted it to be even heavier than this. Like OpTic, Gorillas, Legion Search, they shouldn't even be here. Like they just played atrociously this whole season.
Obviously, originally that was the plan for champs, but the online format just kind of swapped all that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you feel like this format, like when it comes to like them starting in losers and like how they have to make their runs, like if FaZe lose their match,
they go to losers, but
like versus. If you're, let's say the subliners make a run, they win. They played 3 matches already, or they played 2 matches. FaZe hasn't even played yet. Like, does that come into effect at all in your mind? Like, if
but I mean, kind of. I mean, it does because they're getting a day break. There's going to be a day break, between
it's not the same thing as playing on the same day.
Yeah, but there is going to be, I think, something. Subliners is going to be like, we won the first map. Like they're already playing champs, whereas FaZe is still watching it. It's kind of like, I don't know if this makes sense, but it's like when you're like doing a play, it's like the first show is always the most like nerve wracking. But then after that, the next shows you're doing, it's just like, now we're just in routine, The subliners,
so maybe that's the feeling for champs.
Yeah, subliners, like they did their first competition, like, okay, now we're in it. Now we're comfortable, whatever. We go to our next match. Whereas Huntsman's like, this is our first show,
Yeah, like versus like at Champs every other year or any other massive tournament, there's a pool play where they all start on the same playing field.
Exactly. It's like everyone kind of starts at the same time. So, that's sort of my issue with it.
That's a variable.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see whether or not that enables people to make a crazy run or not. But all right, we don't want this podcast to go on forever. So let's talk about MVPs real quick here. Obviously, the CDL announced over the past few weeks the 5 MVP candidates, which is, I mean, we were talking about this last week, Rex. Like there could potentially be like 7, 8 candidates that have like an argument for MVP, depending on who you want to put in there. And they announced Simp, Envoy, Celium, Shotzzy, and Skies as the 5 potential candidates. So, I mean, there were a few big names that were left out, especially one of the guys who has, the leading KD on the season, Wuskin, Octane, Awakening, Pharaoh. I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like Wuskins was robbed.
I don't. But
as a nominee?
I mean, maybe as a nominee, but I don't know. Like I said, I think it's a little overhyped.
But I mean, his adjusted KD on the whole year was like literally the best in the league. Like he has been insane.
Like, I don't know. He's definitely been really good. He's definitely been really good. But I'm taking all 5 of those players before I take Wuskin.
Yes, but the definition of MVP is like most valuable, and like Wuskin. I mean, Sam. I mean, come on, you gotta be out with me on this one.
No, I agree that he should definitely be considered. But in the end, I wouldn't take him as the MVP.
Right. But as a nominee, though, as a top 6, I mean, as a top 5 option.
Well, if they did more than 5.
Yeah, if they did more than 5, sure. But those 5 definitely deserve it more than him.
It's just hard because I would just come out and say, like, for me, it'd be a battle between Simp and Celium.
I know.
For winning the MVP.
For winning the MVP.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I if you don't consider Wuskin, up there, then yeah, you're crazy. But I guess I'm thinking of it more of like I know I wouldn't pick him as the end all be all MVP.
Right.
But
right.
I can see where you're coming from though, for sure.
I don't know. I just feel like it's insane that he didn't get even like our recognition.
Yeah.
Because he's just been so good this year, man.
Yeah.
All year long.
Better
he's
than
probably the
Wuskin
biggest
has
surprise
ever
of the
been.
whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably the biggest surprise year long of players' like performances. Like no one predicted that. I mean, he's literally been unbelievable. And so I was hoping he'd get a little bit of recognition because of how great he's been, like with his adjusted KDs and how he's played statistically all year long has been insane. But all right, let's give our top 3.
Mm-hmm.
You just gave top 2. Let's give top 2.
Yeah.
Give our top 2s and then your pick for an MVP. Again, this is only the regular season. I will say they did say that they will be doing a champs MVP as well, like what the NBA does, like they do an NBA regular season MVP and then an NBA Finals MVP. So, anyway, top 2 MVP. Rex, who are your guys?
Shotzzy, Celium.
Really?
Yep.
Not Simp?
It was a tough call, but Simp, I feel like has gone a little more. Simp is still amazing, and maybe I'm taking that for granted, but I think Celium has stepped up, where it's like Celium has stepped up in more ways than like I would have expected, and maybe that's what I'm counting on. It's like he really stepped up for his team, whereas Simp has kept doing what Simp was kind of supposed to be doing. So, as bad as that is to say, Simp's still amazing.
I think it's my top 2 would probably be Simp and probably Shotzzy. I would imagine Simp then Shotzzy.
Yeah,
but
you better put Shotzzy in there as the most valuable player.
Absolutely insane season long. Obviously, the past like few weeks he hasn't been as dominant, but this event he was dominant, and they made the finals and lost. Obviously, of course, again, Faze has struggled in the finals. They have a losing record. They're 2-3 in grand finals, I think.
Yes.
2-3.
Or have they won 3? Have they won 3 or no?
No. This was to win the third one last event.
Yeah,
that was what during the grand finals. Merck and Maven were freaking arguing about that.
Oh,
but Like Simp has a 1.21 adjusted KD on the year, which is the second best in the CDL season long behind the man himself, Wuskin.
Yeah.
And again, adjusted KD values search and destroy like kills as much as a respawn kill, so significantly more accurate representation of value than, obviously, again, I always have to preface this, KD, even adjusted KD, does not mean everything. It's not a tell all, but it does show the impact that you can have in the slaying department. And for an SMG, Simp's 1.21 on the year in all these different metas and everything that's been going on, absolutely insane.
Yeah, Simp's
and
crazy.
like, just because he was so good last year, I feel like people want to have a different MVP just for the sake of it. But let's be honest, dude. He's been nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you might be right in that regard. It's like having the same person twice. But yeah, I don't know. Selim's just been making more noise, I think.
Yeah.
Like, just like media-wise. People talk more about, I think, Selim comes in the picture more, and they talk about Simp nowadays for some reason. So,
right.
I think maybe that's playing a factor, too.
I mean, at the end of the day, though, I'm a hard advocate for Simp as MVP this season, even though I know it's not as, for some reason, that's not as exciting to do because he was just been so good all of last year, too. It's like, oh, wow, boring.
It's just like the same Simp
MVP.
that we know, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
He's
why
just
it's
been
weird.
so good. And he did it. I mean, again, he did have a little bit of a slump the past few weeks, but this last event, he was insane. So it's just like, I gotta give it to Simp at the end of the day because of how hard it is to be a main SMG in this game, and he's been doing it all year long, and he has never had. He's basically had an AR for one event, and it wasn't working for him either. So it's like, it is just crazy. It's just crazy overall. So, I mean, is there any chance it's somebody else? It's being decided by the analysts and the desk and the personalities in the CDL. So it's not any fan vote or anything else. So, like, do you think that plays? Can you read into that at all with like any X factor for who might get picked?
Shotzzy.
Or like, you think like who? Okay, I guess
Shotzzy's getting
who do
rookie
you
of the
want it
year,
to
at
be,
least.
and do you believe it will be that person? Like, who do you think they're going to pick?
I think they'll pick Shotzzy.
Really
Yeah. I think he'll win rookie of the year and MVP.
interesting. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure who like all the personalities would pick.
Yeah, I don't know, honestly. I don't know enough of their like thoughts.
Their thought, yeah.
Honestly, but I don't know. Yeah, I just feel like either Selim or Simp is gonna win. Probably Simp, honestly. He's just been disgusting, but I mean, Shotzzy for sure is gonna be rookie of the year if they have that, for sure. But
yeah, I mean,
the most valuable person to your team, I feel like Dallas without Shotzzy, Dallas is a completely different team.
Yeah.
He is highly valued by that team. Simp is like, he's also very much highly valued.
That's why I think it's definitely Simp and Shotzzy.
Whereas, like,
in my opinion.
Whereas, like, you could change out Simp, sort of. And
for Shotzzy?
You could put, like, Octane in there or something.
Well, that's a whole different role. So
yeah, it's a whole different role. But then you
him.
move Major Maniac or whatever to sub, and Octane goes like, so it's kind of like you could balance that. But like, if you take Shotzzy out, there's no one that could replace that, you know?
Simp could replace him.
Yeah,
Clay won a championship with Simp.
Maybe Simp could, but I think the play style would change. But I don't know. Shotzzy's great.
I'm a Simp truther, apparently. Around here, I didn't know that was even like a thing at this point.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Is this a hot take that I think Pharaoh's more valuable than Skies? Is that a hot take?
No, I mean I kind of agree with you.
No,
I mean here's the thing.
If I had to pick an MVP of their season, I would probably pick Pharaoh.
Yeah,
Pharaoh. I mean, since he's been there longer, but you also
could say Awakening.
Could say Awakening, but he hasn't been there long enough for you to be like validate that kind of.
I mean, sure, but Pharaoh's been there plenty long enough.
Yeah, I think Pharaoh's been there. Skies has been there from the beginning, and I think honestly, Skies makes a lot of the plays that no one recognizes. I think he makes the smart plays that no one gives credit to. Honestly.
I mean, yes, but he's also playing like the easier role as like a main AR.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I have a very anti-bias towards main ARs this year.
Yeah, you just think ARs is super easy.
Unless they snipe, because then they're an X factor in S&D like Wuskin.
Yeah. Like Simp too.
Yeah, and Simp, which is
Illy.
But, yeah. Amen. Yeah, and like Pharaoh's usually the one sniping for them in S&D, so it's just like I don't know. I just think The snipers are so valuable this year. They're always valuable, but this year they've been insanely valuable, like on Petro and on Arklov and on Piccadilly.
Yeah.
They're literally they are the focal point of strategies on those maps. And so like for me, it's like I want to pick somebody who, if it's not going to be like Shotzzy's kind of the difference maker in that regard, because he's been so valuable for Dallas since like basically after the first event. So like that's kind of where I'm at with it. But I think you really couldn't go wrong with realistically Shotzzy, Celium, or Simp, obviously. So yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at with it. But drop your comments down below, guys, of course, on what you guys think about champs, about the MVPs, about everything we talked about today when it comes to like the challengers, and we'll be talking more about that. Of course, your predictions for hottest operator. Now that's important. That's important. Rex is watching you. That's for sure.
Yes.
But guys, it's been fun. This has been a long podcast, one of our longest ones. And we will be back at it again next week as well. So shout out everybody. As always, you can follow us, SalvationsElite, Bo3, and Shady Nero on Twitter. And drop a review on Apple Podcasts, because we'd be reading those pretty often nowadays. And you guys have been leaving some funny and some great ones. We really do appreciate that. All the support and the comments down below. Everything else. We do appreciate that. But as always, guys, I'm your boy SalvationsElite. To my right is Bash_Bo3, aka Sam. And Rex, Shady, Nero. And guys, we will see you next time. We out.